Veronica, all right, I got your work up here. We're looking really good here. Nice job. Um, you're showing excellent proficiency here. All of the requirements here are covered with the exception of one, and it's not even really a requirement, just a really, really strong recommendation is, oh, actually, never mind. There it is right there, St. Thomas Virgin Islands. I didn't see it tucked way down there in the corner, but that's effective. I think what I would do is probably just go ahead and left align that underneath the logo. Just keep it right where it's at. Just left align it. And then I also want to talk about some of your alignment. I think that magazine ad is really looking good. There's two things I would recommend in the magazine ad. The first is to reduce the size of the body. Actually, three things. Reduce the size of the body copy. Okay, this is probably at a 8.5 by 11 page. This is probably, gosh, I'm going to guess it's probably about a 14 point type size. And let's get that down to in between 10 or 12. It's going to look really small on screen, but it's okay. I'd say 12. Anywhere between 10 and 12 would be suitable. But this is pretty large right here. The next thing I would do is reduce the space between these two paragraphs of text. Right now, there's just this is called proximity, and the principle basically states that if two paragraphs, if they're farther away from each other, it's indicating to the viewer that they're not as closely related as they could be if they were closer together. Since these are really, it's once a continuation. I think that these are closely related, so they should be closer together in terms of proximity. The final thing is to just go ahead and take this subhead right here, and I would go ahead and move it up a little closer to the headline, and I would go ahead and left align those. You can even reduce the size of the headline a little bit. Right now it looks like it's centered, and I think it's a little too large. So if you reduce the size, left align it to about right here or so, then take this you can reduce the size of this subhead as well, and then bring it up here, left align it, and then try to make it so that the left margin of your type is where the flower starts. That's going to really, really bring in some good consistency in terms of alignment, and it's going to increase the harmony of the page as well. Another trick would be to move the flower down a little bit so that right about there, that portion of the flower, the leaf kind of aligns with the bottom of the contact information. See what I'm saying? So just move that down a little bit. Everything should align with something. In other words, it's a really good rule of thumb in graphic design. Okay, the banner ad. The banner ad looks good. I think that the type, again, is really super large. I would go ahead and reduce that, and I would get that out of the center. The reason I want to stay away from center alignment is center alignment doesn't engage the negative space of the ad. As we can see, this center alignment creates what we call symmetry on either side, and that's not always the most engaging thing in terms of design. So my recommendation is I think the type is too big, so I would reduce the type size. Don't forget your required typeface styles. This is a headline, so this should be presented in Arial bold, as opposed to Arial bold italic, just like you have in your magazine ad. So that is Arial bold and then Arial bold italic. But in the web banner, I would go ahead and, as I said, I would just move this over here a little bit, then I would left align the type all the way down. So we have, and then also I want to talk about the flower in a second. So in other words, in summary, what I would do is I would reduce the space between these two lines, left align, then take that whole thing and move it over a little bit, right, to about here or so. And then you can just go ahead and drop that animation right below as we're all left aligned. That's going to activate this negative space, and it's going to make the negative space and the relationship between your typography and your logo area much, much more interesting by creating interesting negative shape. Another kind of a unwritten principle in design is to keep things based on the subject and the content. Things that belong in the air should not be well, let me start it like this. Things that normally you see on the ground, horizon level or below, typically, if you're going to include elements like that in a composition, they should reside below the horizon line of the banner, right? So in other words, if you see flowers in natural life, they typically fall below the horizon line. which means that if you have a flower in a composition, you shouldn't place it above the horizon line. It seems unnatural. So in other words, if something belongs on the ground, keep it on the lower portion of the composition. If something belongs in the air, keep it in the upper portion. So a helium balloon floating freely wouldn't make a lot of sense at the bottom of a composition. Does that make sense? Okay, so we want to move that down right to about there or so. Now watch your animation, just a little bit of a hiccup in the animation. Oh, the animation looks great, but right there. See, it jumped down just for one frame. Watch, right there. See, it pops down for a second. You want to adjust that. Other than that, I think that the only thing I've really stated in the last 6 minutes or so that is going to affect your grade is the animation jumping. Everything else is just a matter of a good harmonious layout. So in other words, what you have here is definitely meeting all of the requirements of the assignment. But what I'm doing is my recommendations are kind of pushing that a little bit further into good, solid design, displaying good elements and principles of design. Ergo, pushing this kind of into the realm of something that is usable in your student portfolio when that time comes, if you elected to do so. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's kind of what I'm pushing for the class. I'd love students to be able to come out of this class with a good tangible portfolio piece. So that said, just a couple of those recommendations that I recommend for your final submission coming up during week 7. If you want to make those changes and post again to this forum, I'll be glad to make a final comment. Otherwise, let's go ahead and make those changes and ready for your submission. Okay. And then, of course, the most important thing is to get with me if you have any questions at all. All right. Excellent work, Veronica. Excellent work. Thank you very much. And again, please let me know if you have any questions at all. Thank you very much.